Thank you for tuning in to Mastering the Math of Business with Lauren Young. Today we're going to be talking about an important concept in generating new sales, and it has to do with differentiating between prospects and suspects. Over the years, I've seen a lot of time and energy wasted on suspects. People who look a lot like prospects because they fit your target customer profile, but they don't behave like prospects in that they're constantly looking for more information that never moves them through the purchase decision funnel. What it does is just distracts your sales talent from being able to focus on those who have a legitimate and real interest in buying what you offer, as opposed to sales suspects who will never buy from you. So let's appreciate what's involved here by just looking at a couple of things. One is each potential customer enters your sales process as one or the other. They're either a prospect that is worth spending time and energy on, or a suspect. If they're a suspect, what's going to happen is they're going to look and feel, and those who are unaware and not diligent, they're going to spend a lot of time with the suspect who never turns into buying anything. Whereas the prospects will, and the best way to differentiate between a prospect and a suspect is to take them through a sales process that moves people through the purchase decision funnel and allows you to keep them engaged as they move through this process with you. Whereas a suspect, once you start taking them through a sales process, they'll stop if they don't feel safe. And so that sales process is the purchase decision funnel. There's another video on that you can tune in to appreciate what this is all about. But the point I'm wanting to make here is suspects never really get out of this phase of the funnel. They'll look like they're here and here, but they aren't. Whereas prospects will drop through this funnel, and one of two things will happen. They'll either buy or they'll put it off and may buy sometime in the future. Excuse me. Oh boy. Okay, we're good to go. So let's look at this from a narrative standpoint. We have business A and business B. Both have the exact same sales goal. Both need the exact same number of new customers because their average transaction value is the same. What's different is business A has no sales process in place. In other words, they're not really good at differentiating between a prospect and a suspect. So they waste a lot of time with suspects, missing out on legitimate prospects who give up on them because they don't have time for them. Whereas business B uses a sales process, and they use it to differentiate their prospects from their suspects so that they don't waste time on suspects. And as you look at this, you can see that the customer acquisition cost for business A is significantly higher because they're not differentiating their leads. In other words, is this a legitimate prospect for me to cultivate, or is it a suspect that's just going to waste my time? So let's drop down into the math to appreciate this. The key you need to know, in other words, the first thing you need to know is what's your average transaction value. So there's only two numbers that jumpstarts this calculation. There are no additional factors, nothing else you have to chase down, but you do need to know what your conversion rates are for your conversion rates for an impression to a prospect. And oftentimes you have to have multiple impressions to get one prospect. And then you've got and many businesses will have multiple interactions with the prospect before that prospect will put up their hand and ask for a quote or want to discuss price. Then when you get to that phase, there's going to be a quote conversion rate. In other words, you've given them the price, and some will balk at that and walk away, and others will engage, and those who do continue to engage ultimately are your new customers. So you got to understand what these conversion rates are, and what I found works best is to factor it in by one. So in other words, what does it cost for me to get one impression, for me to get one prospect? And that's these numbers here. So you can tell that between business A and business B, we're holding this rate constant. That's the impression rate, but we're altering the remaining conversion rates, because what's happening is there's a lot less energy wasted in business B because they're ferreting out the suspects, whereas business A is pushing both prospects and suspects through the quote process. Business B, because their sales process is such, they won't do that. They'll move on from a suspect rather than waste time, and so they'll get rid of them earlier because of they have a process they follow. Now let's appreciate, because of this, what are the total numbers that you need through the year to be able to realize your sales goal. As you can see, they both need the exact same number of impressions, but notice the drastic decrease in the number of prospects needed from leads that turn into quotes. Because these conversion rates are managed by getting rid of those that are time distracting and a waste on resources, they're able to be forced into generating few of those prospects out of their leads. Now let's look at the differential in the costs. So we're holding the cost the same, and so as a result, the impression investment is the exact same thing. But notice how significantly the conversion costs drop off because of the emphasis on spending time on people who are legitimately in the market for what you do. So the power of separating prospects from suspects lies in improved use of resources and reduced wasting of time and really money. So with all videos, we do put a call to action here, and the call to action is anchored on the fact that suspects do not wear a sign around their neck that says, "Don't waste your time on me." They don't. And those who are unaware of a suspect, because they look initially similar to a prospect, are those that find themselves always struggling to generate new sales, and what new sales they do generate come in at a higher cost than they should. So go to business-cpr.com/MS, let's see, make sure I get the number right, MS23, right here. Go to business-cpr.com, MS23, and you'll learn a really simple way to differentiate prospects from suspects involving what's referred to as the customer value proposition. The customer value proposition is your statement of facts that communicate to potential customers, here's the value that we're offering you in your purchase from us. Those who are interested, i.e. valid and legitimate prospects, will stay engaged with you trying to understand what the proposed value is. Whereas suspects will constantly push back and challenge, not because they're interested in peeling away what they're not understanding. They just do that as a way to deflect from them having to make a decision. And so they will just waste time. That's just what this is all about. As with all videos, I do encourage you to utilize the resources that are offered here. I also invite you to offer comments, questions, suggestions, because here what I did is I merged the two visuals. And what I want to just leave you with as part of not only working to secure a like from you for this video, but also a subscription, is because you can pull together different things, different business topics and concepts, and show how they come together. So here what we have is the purchase decision funnel and what it looks like when you bring a prospect and a suspect into it. So both will come into this consideration phase, but what'll happen is a suspect really never moves out of this. They'll look like they're down in here, but they aren't. They're never coming down here. And so you want to get rid of these time wasters. Whereas a prospect is going to do one of two things. They're either going to drop through this and become a customer by buying from you, or they're going to choose not to purchase, which your process should then determine whether this is a potential lead to cultivate over time, because it may not be the best time for them to buy from you, but they are a legitimate prospect that are worth following up with. And that's another topic to discuss in this whole series of Mastering the Math of Business. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to joining you on another edition soon. Goodbye.